Well, our 11 a.m. advisory this Wednesday is in for Hurricane Francine, so now going to begin to get these updates just about every hour as Hurricane Francine does approach landfall here in the next couple of hours later on in the afternoon hours. Not any changes from the 8 a.m. advisory, or the 10 a.m. advisory, rather I should say, is when we started getting the hourly updates. Winds still sustained at 90 miles an hour. That pressure down another millibar to 976 millibars, so a little bit of a steady intensification with Francine, and now continuing to uptick in terms of how fast it's moving northeast at 13 miles an hour as opposed to 10 miles an hour, which it was earlier this morning. Also, one other change worth noting, you can still see the track of Francine is expected to make landfall along the Gulf Coast of Louisiana. That's still, it's a little bit of an eastward shift from where the cone was yesterday, but also definitely slimmed down, so the higher confidence of where it is going to make landfall further over to the east and kind of go over the Baton Rouge and closer to New Orleans and Lake Pontchartrain, but also going to make landfall as a Category 1 now. So the National Hurricane Center has been back and forth if it's going to make landfall as a Category 1 or a Category 2, and honestly, a Category 2 landfall is only about a 6-mile-an-hour uptick in terms of the sustained winds with this. So if it were to make landfall as a Category 2, it would definitely be a very low-end Category 2. Because once Francine does begin to move over land, it is going to make a northward turn, number one, go up through that western part of Mississippi and then linger into some areas in eastern Arkansas and eventually Tennessee, Kentucky, and that very edge of Missouri up there. That's more so when we get to Thursday and Friday. But also, Francine, as soon as it impacts land, it is definitely going to begin to weaken eventually into a tropical storm by tomorrow morning, and then a remnant low pressure system by the time we get into Thursday evening. In terms of what we're expecting for those areas closer to landfall, well, obviously we have a hurricane warning right here outlined in the pink for that area closest to landfall along the Louisiana Gulf Coast. But still, we are looking at tropical storm warnings all around that kind of boot foot, if you will, of Louisiana, and even those stretching into the Gulf Coast of Mississippi and Alabama, the Mobile area, or Mobile Bay area, and the Gulf Shores area. And then we still have a tropical storm watch for the southern counties in Mississippi, a little bit further inland and just right there on the eastern edge of Louisiana. Still not as much confidence that they'll see tropical storm force impacts, but still wanting to keep the public out and aware of this ahead of time. So that's where we stand in terms of the effects closer to landfall. What can we expect here in central Georgia? Well, you can see that we're already going to start to see some light showers, maybe a little bit of a steadier rain in some pockets by the time we get to this afternoon, mainly limited to the further south and west that you do live here in central Georgia. The rest of central Georgia really just going to see that cloud cover that's been hanging around all morning long. Now we take it into Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Now you start to see the rain get a little bit more widespread. And once again, it's the same story as this afternoon. We're looking at some pockets of heavier rain like you see further down in some of our southern counties. This is going to be on and off really as we go throughout today and into tomorrow, but really going to scatter on out as we get into the evening hours tomorrow. So you see 10 p.m. there, just really looking like not much in the form of rain, just a couple of light showers and very isolated in nature. But this will continue to be the case overnight Thursday into the morning hours on Friday. There you see 9 a.m. right there. And then as we go throughout Friday afternoon, expecting some clearing of that cloud cover. So obviously going to have all of that tropical moisture in place as Francine does trek further to the west of us, but we are still going to get those breaks in cloud cover combined with that humidity. It could start to pop up a couple of isolated thunderstorms, or more so clusters of thunderstorms, as we go into the nighttime hours Friday and on into Saturday morning. So as it stands right now, still not looking at really any severe weather potential besides some severe thunderstorm warnings, and obviously the tornado threat really does remain mainly west of us here in central Georgia, but we're still going to have to keep a close eye on the radar as we go throughout the next couple of days, because obviously a shift in path not very likely. The cone is very slim, so a lot of confidence on the path that Francine will have, but if we were to see a further eastward shift, that would obviously put that center of circulation closer to us here in central Georgia and have the impact for more severe weather and heavier rainfall totals. So we're going to continue to keep a close eye on Francine, but that's where it stands as of 11 a.m. as Francine is fastly approaching landfall here in the next couple of hours.